been telling my girl that all guy friends, bro, all they want to do is have intercourse, bro. You know what I'm saying?
That is not true. Me and my guy friends, we never even thought like that.
All right, bet.
I put people up before I was with you. They put me up.
All right, bet. So call one of your guy friends, tell them that me and you no longer talk and that you no longer want to be with me and like you need somewhere to stay, type shit. She seemed a little too confident. I ain't gonna lie.
Can you answer the phone?
Huh?
Can you answer the phone? Hello? Me and Titus just got into it. Can I come stay at your house?
Of course. That's what there is.
We just play like that.
Y'all niggas gonna come us up.
He just playing. He just playing. We just play like that. What did you do? He just playing.
Get out, bro. Get out.
He just playing.
Get out. I'm done. Get out.
He just playing.
Get out. Get out.
He just
All right, Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachaha, Quadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return, and double honors to our apostles and elders, a great millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And I wanted to do a quick response to this video here. I'm going to title this video, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman, Now, we read the book of Job 39, verse 17, and when you become real seasoned in this truth and you read Job 39, verse 17, you'll understand why Job said what he said about women when he said, because the Lord have deprived her of wisdom, neither have he imparted to her understanding. Okay? Now, am I saying that there's something wrong with a woman having male friends? Well, the answer is yes, but the answer is also no at the same time. It depends on who she is friends with. Because, see, Jake in the world is a loose cannon. You see, if I was that woman's friend, immediately I would be applying the wisdom of the Holy Scriptures. And I would be moved by the fear of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Some of the first precepts that would come to my mind is sit not at all with another man's wife. So if she was to call and ask me if she could stay at my crib, the answer would be no. Because the scriptures say, sit not at all with another man's wife. Neither sit with her at the wine, because you get a little wine in you, and you get a little wine in her, and next thing you know, you and her are looking each other in the eyes, and now you're both kissing. Now the clothes are coming off, and right before you know it, you're smashing. So sit not at all with another man's wife, because that can easily lead to adultery, and don't underestimate a woman, because a woman is real good at getting inside of a man's head. You chilling at her crib, she's becoming attached to you, da-da-da-da-da. Second of all, okay, a woman is a man's property, that woman right there is his property. Talking about the guy in the red, that's his property, So if you're an Israelite man and you're not moved by the fear of the Heavenly Father or his Son, it's going to be a light thing for you to commit adultery with your best friend's wife. Point blank fucking period, man. You ain't going to have a conscience. You ain't gonna think twice. You know, you ain't even gonna care. Neither is you gonna, cause see, what our people don't seem to understand is that there is a consequence behind your actions. There is a consequence for every action that you do. And if your best friend don't put you to death for smashing his wife, the Heavenly Father will. The Heavenly Father can get your ass in a car accident. He can set you up to get jumped. Or you know, way back in the days, there was this guy who committed adultery with a brother's wife down in L.A., okay? We used to call him the Fur Coat Fox, okay? Because he smashed the brother's wife down there in L.A., okay? And then guess what? This nigga thought he got away with committing adultery with the brother's wife, right? Well, guess what? The Lord set it up to where the Lord set it up to where I believe his building had caught on fire. Talking about the Fur Coat Fox, okay? His building caught on fire, so he ended up leaping off a I don't know if it was a second floor or it could have been a third. I can't remember, but I believe it was a second floor balcony. Okay, no, it had to have been higher than that. It could have been a 10th floor balcony. But I know when he leaped off the building, okay, he thought he was going to hit the ground and die. Guess what? He didn't die. He survived. And you know what else? He ended up being paralyzed from his hip all the way down to his legs. So guess what? He was unable to use his crotch in order to have sex anymore. And not only that, but he's alive and in a wheelchair. Or at least from what we heard, he was alive and in a wheelchair. Unable to use his rod, you know, unable to use his rod to smash anymore. Unable to use it. You see that? So the Lord will get your ass for committing adultery, man. Especially if you're in the truth and you know better. The Lord will judge you, man. The Lord will get you. Okay? Nobody escapes judgment. And you see, this woman, you know, she over here laughing and joking about it. He was just playing. Well, guess what the scriptures say about women like that. Let's real quick, let's go to the book of Sirach. Okay. I want to make sure that stays open because sometimes YouTube will close down the video. Okay. Let's go to the book of Sirach. Because you're not supposed to commit adultery with a man's wife. You know, and anybody who's committing adultery with another man's wife, you lack understanding, okay? Okay? Because well, as it is written in the Holy Scriptures, that which the Lord hath put together, let no man put asunder. Okay, there's a reason why the Lord set that man up with that woman. Okay, a man and a woman coming together, you know, that's like a new foundation being set up. You know, because many things can come from that man and that woman, a union of that man and that woman coming together. Okay. Because, you know, every man on this planet has his own ideas. You know, he has his own talents, his own skills. So, you know, a man and a woman coming together, you know, a man smashing his woman, you know, that's a covenant being formed right there, okay? Hence the word covenant. The word covenant not only means a binding agreement, the word covenant means to cut. Because when a man pops a woman's cherry and he starts cutting into her, hence having sex, the word sex means to cut, right? He's smashing her. Guess what? A covenant is being formed right there. Okay? So, when a man is developing a family, he has sons and daughters, those sons and daughters are being raised based on his talents, his skills, his ideas, his foundations, what he what he learned from his father, henceforth. This is why, like in history, some of the greatest blacksmiths comes from a child. The word child goes back to the Hebrew word bond, which is where you get son from. Comes from a son who's raised by his father, whose father taught him how to, hammer a blade, how to form it, what temperatures to do it at, and the son always got the mother there to care for him, to nourish him, because that's where you get a balance from, man. And because believe it or not, even a daughter needs the father in the house, because a mother cannot raise a female on her own. Because bro, come on, look at this society. Look at all the women of this society that was raised by a single mother house. They all grow up to be hoes, whores, sluts, wanton, undisciplined, heady, high-minded, okay? And ultimately, they end up lonely in the end, no husband, okay? And then when they want to settle down, finally want to settle down and get a husband, they're in their mid-30s, their late 30s, and nobody wants them. That's what happens when a female is raised without a father. The father is there to discipline her, to teach her how to be a presentable woman for her man. So, some of the greatest people in history comes from a person who was raised by both a mother and a father, but especially the father. Okay? The man plays a very important role in the house. Okay? So now getting back on this broad, she see, and that's the thing too. You women don't take anything seriously. He was just playing, laughing and giggling. Sirach, also known as the book of Ecclesiasticus 25, verse 19. All wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. Let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. You see, wickedness is a very little thing in the sight of a woman. It's a very, very light thing for a woman to sleep around on her man, especially if she knows that she can do it and get away with it. If she knows that she can do it and get away with it, which America allows these women to get away with it, she's going to do it. And she ain't going to have no guilty conscience. She's not going to care if her man is crying. She's not going to care. She's not going to care if he's hurt. Okay? She ain't gonna care, man. Damn, man. She ain't gonna care, man. She ain't gonna care if he commits suicide. Because, see, the woman wants the easy life. You know? You know? But you see, little do these women know, they're going to be judged one day, you know? Some of these women that die some of the most horrible deaths around the planet, these are the same women who committed adultery on her man. These are some of the same women that committed adultery on their men. Okay? Whether if it was to get back at them, get back at their men for whatever reason, whether if it was, you know, because they felt like it was time to move on, whether if it was because, you know, they felt like they could just do it and get away with it, you know. And we hear about it all the time in the news, man. Women who got into car accidents, women who accidentally ran over another person because they came back from a party and wanted to drink. Now their ass is sitting in prison for life because they wanted to indulge at a party. They probably committed adultery at that party. Now they thought they was gonna go home, wake up to their high-paying job, and oh nope, now your ass sitting in prison for life. You know, some of these women end up in shootouts and they get put to death. Some of these women get jumped, robbed, and get killed right there at that night. You know, or in some cases, sometimes the man of whom the woman committed adultery with finds that same bitch, shoots her up, and put her to death. Some of these women, you know, months later, they end up being found, chopped up to pieces, okay? And you hear a lot of cases about that, especially out in these different different states here in the U.S., some of these countries here in the U.S., you know, women who end up found up, chopped to pieces inside of duffel bags. You know, they end up not being found until like months later. They're unable to identify who did it. You see, you know, some of you women who go over to these different countries like Mexico, the Dominican Republic. You know, you go in there for vacation, and guess what? You never come back because you got to run in with the cartel. Now the cartel is running trains on you until they feel like they don't need you no more. Then they behead you on live camera and upload it to the web. You know, there's all kind of judgments that get executed on you women. But for a lot of you women that's committing adultery on your men, but you're not paying the price just yet, there's a reason for that. You know why? Because the Lord is keeping your ass alive for Jacob's trouble. And believe you me, you don't want to be a woman, especially an Israelite woman, and be alive during Jacob's trouble. You don't want to be alive during Jacob's trouble, because that's going to be the most terrifying. Jacob's trouble is going to be the most terrifying time in history. And then you're going to wish you had never committed adultery against your man. You're going to wish you never discarded your man. You're going to wish you never put your man on child support. You're going to wish your man was there to comfort you. Because there's going to be lions, bears, wolves, cougars, deadly animals roaming the streets. There's going to be robot dogs roaming the streets. There's going to be murder robots roaming the airs and on the ground. There's going to be slaughter bots roaming the airs, killing people. Okay, there's going to be self-driving cars that's going to be roaming the streets, running people over. There's going to be robots with chainsaws hacking people to pieces, chopping people to pieces. Okay, there's going to be martial law troops going from door to doors in neighborhoods, taking people out of their homes, putting them in FEMA trucks, sending them off to concentration camps to be tortured just for fun by the super rich and the so-called elites. Okay? It's going to be like the purge out here as well. It's going to be every man for themselves, man. Okay? It's going to be disease warfare out here. There ain't going to be no food. People's going to be starving to death because the government's going to have all the food hoarded. And guess what? If you want to eat, if you want to be protected from the terror that's going to be out here in the streets, well, guess what? The government is going to require you to take a chip. And that chip is going to lead you to having a date with the nuclear warheads during World War III. Because the chip is the mark of the BEAST. Okay? In which the nuclear warheads will turn this country into a lake of fire. Because those nuclear warheads are going to be shot off, and they're going to come from countries like Russia, NATO, Germany, India, Iran, India, China, and North Korea, and any other country that have nuclear capability, turning this country into a lake of fire as prophesied in the book of Revelation. Okay, so you don't want to go that route, man, of being an adulterous woman, having your heads in the cloud and being proud. And not to mention, okay, according to Zechariah chapter 9 verse 4 down to 5, okay, and according to Zechariah 13 verse 8, okay, it says that two parts shall be cut off and die. Okay, the majority of you women make up the majority of the 2/3 of our nation, whether if you believe it or not. Okay, you women make up the majority of the 2/3 of our nation. And you know why I say that? Because there's more women on this planet than there is men. And the reason why there's more women on this planet than there is men, because a man can have more than one woman. Okay? And the Lord set it up that way to prevent adultery from happening. That's why the Lord set it up to where there's more women on this planet than there is men. Because a man is allowed to have more than one woman. And that's according to the Holy Scriptures. And there's many scriptures I can pull up to prove. There's many scriptures that I can pull up to prove that a man can have more than one woman. Okay, but a woman can only have one man. Because when a woman starts sleeping around with more than one man or with multiple partners, diseases start to spread. Because a woman is only supposed to have one man. Okay, so again, when Jacob's trouble comes, you know, there's going to be dangerous animals roaming the streets, yellow jackets, okay, martial law, disease warfare, starvation, okay, zombie apocalypse, murder robots, slaughter bots, robot dogs, like in Black Mirror, Metalhead, okay. There's gonna be storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, you know, militias, cannibalism, and you women, you're also going to be a huge target of cannibalism. Because men understand that they are stronger than you women. Men understand that. Okay, a lot of you women, the Lord's going to set your ass up to get RAPED. Because you know what? During Jacob's trouble, 911 is going to be out of service. There's going to be a government shutdown, so the government is not going to be able to save you. Okay? You know, it's going to be wolves, okay, pit bulls, and a lot of these neighborhoods, and in a lot of these neighborhoods, you people love to have dogs like Rottweilers, lab pit bulls, So guess what? These same dogs are going to be roaming the streets, killing and eating you people, because where is their dog food going to come from? And the store can only hold up to 3 days worth of food. So imagine people raiding these stores, just like in the movie World War Z, and stuffing their grocery carts full of food. Okay, that store is going to be empty overnight. Same thing with these corner stores. Okay. And when you see these Arabs and East Indians, who normally have these corner shops opened, okay, when you see them relocating and moving back to their country, then you need to ask yourself, what the hell's going on? Because these Arabs, okay, they get a head start warning before we do as to what is going to happen here in the U.S. Plus, these Arabs and these East Indians, they have cousins and nephews and uncles that are a part of the UN army. Okay? So, it's going to be all hell out here. And let me remind you women that according to 2nd Esdras 15, the 15th chapter, the Lord said that he was going to smite Egypt with plagues as before. So, this place is going to be hit with monstrous apparitions. And let's not forget about the newly created beasts. All these monstrous creatures that these secret underground labs have, that's going to be released on the public. Hey, you people you're gonna have to face that. Okay, yeah, you watch movies like Resident Evil. Okay, they show you creatures like the Licker. Okay, they actually have creatures like that from all these different experiments that they've been conducting on animals and on people and on insects. You motherfucking women are in for a rude awakening. And don't come running to a man of the Lord, because the only way you women are going to be protected is if you're with a man that is of the elect. Because the Lord is going to protect his elect men from all these terrors and guide and navigate them through all these terrors. And some of the Lord's elect men are going to have spiritual power. Okay? So when you women see the power on the Heavenly Father's elect men here on earth, when you see the power, don't come running to us. I mean, we hope to be of the elect. I hope to be of the elect, But if we're of the elect, Lord's will, we hope to be of the elect. Don't come running to us. Because you're going to be rejected and you're going to be left to die out there in the streets, or as Apostle Gabar would say, the streets where you love to be at. With that, I'm going to say shalom. Is on to the next one.